Welcome, everybody, to the Please Don't Watch This podcast. I am your wonderful, awesome host, Carl101, and joining me, as always, is the good old SpeedSlasher.
I'm not wonderful, but I'm good old. You know, that's dependable. All reliable.
Hey, what's the saying in SpongeBob? Old people are amazing.
Ding!
Yeah.
It's radical.
Future Speed, edit that in post, please. Thank you.
To put the old man there? Okay. Thank you. Well, I'm glad I'm being compared to an old man once again. But
hey, I'm older, okay? I get to do that. I get that right.
You are 1,001 years old, after all.
Yeah,
but speaking
I am.
of, there's some stuff that happened in your week. Let's go talk about it, huh?
Yeah.
Something about 1,000?
Yeah, so I ate my 1,000th pie this week. It was really delicious. It was chocolate cream pie.
That's amazing. I don't think you've gained weight at all.
I know, right?
You really pack it in. Get on with it.
Yeah. So I have hit my 1,000th follower this week. Very exciting times. It's an interesting thing because like it doesn't really hit you as exciting until it actually just kind of happens.
Yeah.
And like it just kind of happened. And unfortunately, it didn't happen on a stream, but it happened with some cool people that I was talking, or cool person I should say I was talking with. So yeah, it was really interesting. I was like, hey, do you want to be my 1,000th follower? And they were like, yes. So I was like, done, victory right there. But yeah. I want to just kind of say thank you to all 1,000 of you that have followed, as well as all the YouTubers that have also stuck around too. It really is a special moment in streaming life because, like, you know, there's a lot of easy ways that you can get followers. I mean, Speed would be, you know, the first one to tell, because technically speaking, Speed beat me to 1,000 followers. By technical standards, he did really beat me. But I think it's a really special honor when it naturally happened, and I really firmly believe that based on all the raids, all the people, all the followers, subscribers, and everything, all the momentum that I kicked up from my past to now, naturally made it happen. And that's a really good feeling, and it's a really pure feeling when it comes to streaming. So once again, I just want to say thank you. This does not mean anywhere that I am done with streaming. It only means that now we have to we hit one Kevin. Now we have to get to one Malone.
Yeah, one Malone. Yeah. Okay, I want to go back real quick. I hit my 200 follower very recently as well. The 1,000 one that I hit was from a bot attack. Just want to clarify that.
That's why it was so easy, because like it's unfortunate because I really wanted to just like see it, because it was it's like an unnatural thing that just happens in life, and like even though it was terrible and I really feel bad for you that it happened, like just seeing that phenomenon just like happen in its own right was kind of like something that was.
I turned off notifications though during that stream because it was just like bing, it followed you, because it's just a random string of letters and numbers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there's tools to delete those, so thankfully I was able to find that out. But once again, congrats on 1,000. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
I'm welcome.
But yeah, so on top of that, I am going to have event. This should go up this week before the end of the weekend. So for those of you that are interested, I have 2 events now on the calendar, not 1 but 2. Number 1, Community Night will be next Saturday. All are welcome to join from the YouTube side, as well as anybody that's already still following on Twitch. So I'm looking to see 1,000 people out there today, or on Saturday.
Today.
But also, now that we'd hit that, I had been planning a quiet project that I'm finally now able to release, which I will make sure it gets posted on the screen too here. I am doing a 1,000 follower celebration. The idea behind it is actually that you guys are all welcome to show me or tell me what to play, really. But I'm kind of asking for it ahead of time, if that's because I think that's going to be the best way to go about it. So I will have posted in the description here a link to a Google form or Google survey, really, for you guys to just post in your games. I have 30-minute slots for everything. So I've put in a couple of different notes, but I'll just kind of like summarize them. So make sure to find something that like I will enjoy in 30 minutes. Like if the first part of your game that you suggest is 30 minutes of cutscenes, I mean like, hey, that's fine, but it may not be the most
TFP.
exciting thing. Yeah. Actually,
Well,
for the record, what TFP suggested, very solidly done. So, but yeah, so that's the biggest thing. Also, make sure it's something that I kind of like have. Like, I don't mind throwing a couple extra bucks to go buy something, but like, I'm not particularly interested in being like $60 game, $60 game, $60
Elden
game.
Ring.
Yeah. No.
It's not enough time.
But yeah, so time slots are filling up, so make sure you get that. I'm projecting probably a 15-hour stream. There will be a concert as well. Looking forward and nervous to that, but it'll be great. Let me tell you. I'm trying. My focus on that concert is to try and make it as diverse in gaming as possible. So there's going to be quite a different. I wouldn't say genres, but just game selections of songs that are going to be played. So I think it'll be kind of interesting. There's definitely going to be some new stuff that's going to be played, and I'm excited to record that, but scared because I have a lot of work to do.
But thankfully, you don't have an explicit time frame for this, do you? Or
so I'm looking to start at 10 a.m. and then I'll probably be done when I'm just kind of like done.
I meant the day wise. Like, did you plan a day?
Yeah, it'll be July 2nd or whatever they're showing on the screen. July 2nd. July
It's
2nd.
final.
I'm looking at the calendar. It's July 2nd. That's what I posted in the Discord. That's what it's going to be.
Sorry, I might have blinked on it.
So, yeah, that's everything that I don't know why I paused there for so long. That's everything that's coming down the week for Carl1001. So, any things you got to say about that?
Good job on that.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm very interested. I submitted a game, but now that you said you could submit 3 games, I'm like,
Yeah, so I
or
guess
3
really quick,
game. I think you forgot the S.
I might have forgotten the S
announcement
a lot of times. But yeah, I suggested 3 games to submit, and I'll just kind of like choose which one's the best of them that will probably be streamable. So like TFP submitted 3, and then 2 of them I own, 1 of them I don't own, and I think like of those 2 I'll pick between one of the others, and I think I have a pretty good idea of like what I'm gonna pick for that. So as we get closer to the event, I'll start posting schedule like rough or drafts of different schedules as I keep adding and adding and adding to them. So like probably before even this podcast goes up, there'll probably be like a first draft of like, here's what we got left, here's how many time slots are still needing to be filled, and so forth. And I think like if I don't end up filling the entire time slot, it'll be I can always improvise, or I can even go back and play some of those second games that people suggested and kind of fill in time slots for there too. So maybe I can make it something where it's like dedicated to like if I don't have enough slots just from followers, that subscribers of the channel get a second slot to be able to put in. So that might be
That's a good hierarchy aspect of it.
Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, like even with the I think like 6 or 7 that I've already gotten just from the Discord alone, I think I will already be able to fill up the entire day with stuff. So, but not that isn't to say that there are plenty more slots still available. It's just I'm trying to make sure that the schedule works out in everybody's favor, so that a lot of people. Also, one of the other things too I wanted to make it apparent is that on the schedule I am looking to put your guys' names, so that you can kind of just kind of like be recognized as like, hey, this is my game. I got to put it here because I'm a follower of the channel. I do kind of really request that you do that, just because, like, you got again, it's 1,000 followers celebration, and I want you guys to be recognized as like followers of the stream. So,
yeah, I think it's a great idea because, the main thing is, you're not one to have not done a endurance stream ever before either. So I think. Yeah, but you haven't done one in a while, except for like New Year's. So I think it's going to be quite a good time.
I mean, ideally, like I've really wanted to kind of like quadruple down on a year as far as like hectic, chaotic, long streams and stuff. Because like I wanted, like, obviously New Year's is a really good one. That'll never change now. That's in stone. Event now, which is unfortunate because as a gigging musician, like New Year's is good pay, but at the same time, like, no. New Year's is dedicated to you guys now, forever.
Thank you.
I will always be doing, unless I just stop streaming altogether, which I hope I never kind of really do. It'll always be a dedicated event for you guys, or well, for myself and you guys, really, because like that event is more of like self accomplishment in the sense of like how many more games can we keep adding on to each new year to be able to beat and stuff. So,
And the Dunkos are always fun.
yeah, the Dunkos are fun. I still do the concert as well on that event as well. So it all fits out and it all fits really well in that. So, but like, yeah, I was hoping that like there would be 4 events kind of throughout the year. Maybe one in like the spring, like basically seasonal events is what they would be. So I don't know if this will be a continued event kind of thing. Maybe it will be. Maybe they'll just kind of keep it as like a, hey, celebration of the followers might be a kind of a cool name to really rename this to down the road, where I kind of just do this kind of thing where it's like, hey, all you followers, first come, first serve, get me to play a game. And it might be like kind of interesting where maybe I do start then putting in. I won't have any commercials for this one, just because like for how last minute I've already just thrown this in here. Still, I don't have time to make them. But maybe down the road, like that'll be kind of something that we can kind of do. And then like I was talking to Troy, I know you guys keep asking for it and stuff, and I can't. I really like to, and I really want to be like, hey, Gameathon, there you go. But the truth of the matter is that like Gameathon will only be confirmed when it's all fully and ready to be confirmed, and it'll just be like in your face out of nowhere kind of thing, and that's just gonna how it has to be, which is fine because like, hey, Project Chase and Project everything else that's coming down the road, like that's kind of how the Carl 101 way. So it'll keep you guys on your toes for all that.
Write that down. Project everything else. get ready for it. Well, yeah, it's always hard to schedule things with another person when it's something like streaming, no less. Mm-hmm. You saw it recently. I met with Johnny for the first time in like a year. I hadn't talked to the guy in a year. For those who don't know, Johnny was my co-host basically on Afternoon Casuals, and I just had a pretty short stream, but it was still pretty fun. We just did Fortune Street, and Jake was there.
I was very let down.
Because I won.
I wanted Johnny to win. I was like super like, yeah, Johnny, let's go. Come on, Johnny. And then I asked Johnny like, so what's your winning game plan? He's like,
I don't got one. It's like me with the commercial. I don't got one. But besides that, like I haven't really had much going on. I did Krita. I learned to mess with other art programs because normally I use paint.net. Now I've been messing with Krita and seeing what it offers, and there's plenty of paint stuff that I like using with it. I'll show some right here, and
at that impulse speed.
Yeah, the few bumbles do it. So I just think it's fun too. I always think as a artist or of anything, it's like it's always worth trying out different mediums just to see what flows and what you still need. Like for example, I like editing photos more in paint.net still, but I like just creating stuff more in Krita, I think. But I don't know how that balance will be. But,
I mean, honestly, like with all the editing that I do, like, so a secret that you guys should know, that everybody is disgusted about the two of us is that we do a lot of photo editing in Sony Vegas.
All right, because I like to use the template thing, and paint.net doesn't have a keep their text thing there. I know GIMP, as they say, allows you to do that, but I use paint.net. I'm gonna stick with it. I'm not a brand stickler guy, but I'm gonna stick with what I know.
Creatures of habit is what it would be. But yeah, no, it's true because like there are just, it takes a really dedicated mind to be like, okay, I am done using Photoshop
Internet
for something
Explorer.
better. Yeah, even as dumb as it is, like even that kind of stuff can be like jarring to people to just switch from one thing to another. So like I get it, I'm a creature of habit too when it comes to a lot of stuff. I try not to be as much as I can, but like it still happens, and it's still just a big part of who I am. So
yeah, definitely. Like I've been wanting to switch from Google Chrome to Firefox for a while because I've been hearing so many good things about Firefox again. I think it's worth it, but like
that is such a very difficult thing because here's the thing.
You can move all your bookmarks over, but then
So I feel that the solution that nobody likes to take because they're too lazy to do it, but this is just my hot take on it. My perfect solution to what internet browser that you totally should use is D all of the above. Because let me tell you, I do not use Firefox, I do not use Chrome, I do not use Opera. I use all three of them for their own different purposes, all right? I use Chrome for all of my business stuff. I use Firefox for all of my like downtime and YouTube and content creator stuff, and I use Opera for just like other stuff that just like Opera's really good for like if I need to like browse like something I created as like a non like user of the content.
I
so
see.
like
Okay.
like yeah, so like for example, like if I need to use like forums and stuff, like and I need to see it from like the outside perspective of somebody that's like not subscribed or like not that doesn't have like that is restricted, I should say. Then I'll load up Opera and be like, okay, let's try it through that way, because Opera is the one that's not connected to literally anything at all. It's just an unused browser that just sits there, and it's like if I need to see something that's just not from the normal view, that's what I'll use.
I do that too, actually, but that's why, because it's like I use Mozilla for like showing something on stream, and I'm like, I think I just want to use Mozilla for my like personal use and use something else for stream use. But you know, it's hard to make that change, I think, still, because I use both, but I want to change how I use both, and I think that's the challenge.
Right. And I use Netscape Navigator for nothing. I just wanted to see if you were paying attention.
And I use Edge to download the other two browsers.
Speaking of, that's a good transition into news really quick. I still have other stuff to actually talk about live, but I figured we'd just talk about that really quick. Can we hold on?
Oh, Carl's getting the pop.
Can we raise a drink to Microsoft Internet Explorer for finally ending its life over the week? Very sad times.
Pour one out.
Pour one out.
Very important technology here.
I mean, like, really quick, I'll touch on it. Like, back in the day, because I was old enough where Internet Explorer was the browser to use.
Oh, yeah, me too.
They're back to you younger generation out there, kids.
You don't say.
Because I get to say that too, because I'm older.
TikTokers.
You TikTokers. You have to understand that Firefox and Google Chrome weren't a thing, 20 years ago. And all that you had was, Netscape Navigator and Internet Explorer. And, like, even though in Internet Explorer back in the day still wasn't probably, like, great, like, it was the best kind of out there for the time. Like, especially if you had a Microsoft computer. So, I mean, like, as much as I harp on it, as much as I crap on it and everything, like, at the end of the day, for what it started and what it turned into, like, I gotta have some respect for it. So,
let me add a funny adage, because I had used Internet Explorer for longer than I had actually used Google Chrome. And the funny thing is, like, after I switched, I was like, oh, these GIFs I made, they're not paste at all. So, on Internet Explorer, it chugs along. So it's like, oh, this is a good frame rate. I've accomplished that. And then I go to Google, it's like going real fast. And I'm like, oh, man.
Oh man, did you just activate some Half-Life 1 sound effects?
That's my jacket, by the way. For audio listener folks, I feel like we should do that a little more. We're like, hey, for the audio folks, this is what we just did.
Yeah, that's true. And at some point, we are looking to actually get these podcasts onto some sort of listening platform. I think a good goal for the podcast too would be really getting our podcast onto Spotify at some point.
Spoofy.
Spoofy as it would be. I was super confused when you said spoofy. I was like, what are you talking about? Because he said this earlier, like either yesterday or the day before, and I was like, what is
spoofy?
Yeah, and I don't think you like attached that to anything too, so that made that even more like confusing. So I was like, what are you talking? I'm like, oh, he's probably talking about Spotify.
And then the other person was like, yeah, I have a Spotify. They understood. You're just not hip with the times. Everyone's calling it spoofy these days. Listen to Carl's music on Spoofy later, by the way, folks.
Which another thing I gotta.
Another thing for another time.
I really gotta get it on there because like it should just be on there at this point. I don't know what I'm doing with my life.
Podcast.
To anybody that's listening to this, please help. I can't pay you anything, but if you want to be my manager, like.
He likes to do this. He likes to.
That'd be great. My life's so chaotic that like every day. Sometimes like it really helps when you just have like an assistant. Honestly, is what it would be really being, and that just kind of was like, no, you can't do this. You got to finish this first. And it's like, oh, okay.
I'm like on the cusp of being that. I feel.
Yeah, but
And
I can
all things
understand that like
considered.
you're okay with doing like all the nice fun stuff with it, but like you don't want to be like the bad guy. And unfortunately, assistants sometimes have to be the bad guy to their managers or their the CEOs as it would be of companies, and like they get a bad rap unfortunately for having to do that, despite the fact that
Of course
they're the ones that are like controlling the life, taking care of the life, and just taking care of the business as it would be more on the more greater spectrum. So
and there's obviously bad managers, but I feel like once you get a good rhetoric, that's more the important thing. Communication is more important than like hey.
Yeah.
So let's move on now. Do we? Do you have anything else to?
I just got a couple more things I want to touch into. I have a Discord, of course. You can follow it. There'll be a link either on the screen or in the description below. Whatever you choose to do, Speed, is perfectly fine. It's always been in there. It's been on the description of every single video, so somehow you should be able to find it at some point. But I was just going to say that I started... on top of the topic of the day being a thing, which doesn't always get updated every day because lazy, I started a new thing on there called Jam of the Day, which I'm having fun posting, and even if nobody's really kind of like enjoying it, but I've actually created a Spotify playlist for that too. So like,
oh, cool.
At some point, like when we get to like jam number 35, you'll have like a couple hours worth of music to just kind of listen to. So
I used to do that actually in my Discord, but then I was like, I don't think I'm utilizing this music channel too much, so I deleted that on my end. But it makes more sense for yours, I think.
Yeah, and the thing too is that like it just it's the same thing as that like the music channel really wasn't being like posted to. Unfortunately, my music gets its own channel in the Discord, so like I can't really just post it there, which maybe is a bad or good idea ? But I figured that like I might as well do this Jam of the Day thing for a little while and see if people start to kind of become interested or not about it. So but yeah, I'm trying to keep it as diverse as possible. It is not specifically to video game music. There's been definitely other music that I posted in there. Some long stuff, some short stuff, some strange stuff. It is not necessarily to be a jam as is implied. Unless you really jam out to Franz Liszt's Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2 in C# minor, which there's some moments in there, but I'll keep it for you to listen to. So. But yeah, I'm super excited about that. We're just going on our first week as of recording this podcast.
Jam number 7 is 4:33. That's a weird playlist. You just have 4 minutes of silence in the middle of it.
So, but yeah, that's I think everything that I have as far as stuff to talk about, and then we'll get to like what's going on past the podcast and stuff when we get to that later on tonight. So I think really quick, we're gonna talk about. We're actually finally gonna talk about some super quick news. We're gonna
quick.
Keep it, we're gonna
maybe 7 minutes tops.
We're starting a new segment called Super Fast, Super Awesome, Super Quick News. Here we go. Ready? Here we go. First news: Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Okay, done. Next, go Speed, go.
Neon White just came out like 2 days ago. I was like, ooh, cool. I want to play it. I didn't play it yet. Okay, now you.
That's all news I got because I wasn't paying attention to news this one.
Okay, back to me. Dragon's Dogma 2. Hideaki Itsune wore a shirt that said it on Thursday. That was the reveal. All it said was Dragon's Dogma 2, and that's all we know about it. Boom.
Yeah. All right. Woo! Go everybody.
Now, for those who didn't watch the previous podcast, we had a thing where that was when we were supposed to talk about the main topic, which we'll get into in a bit. But I was like, you should have told me to shut up. I was like, I didn't know. So now, obviously, we could give more
we can
actual discussion about these games. We didn't want to just talk about everything. I think it's fair. It's like, we should just talk about the ones that we're really interested in. So, hit it, Slayer, with the Fantasy.
So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I've been waiting for a very long time.
Yeah, you said Remake was your favorite game of that year.
It was the game of the year for, what was it, either 2020 or 2021? No, 2020.
2020, I think.
Yeah, it was the game that that I know this is also a lot of people kind of Final Fantasy VII Remake has had a very love-hate relationship between all gamers.
Yeah.
There is definitely a great divide between people that really appreciate and enjoyed the game, and there's also a really great divide for people that were just like, I don't like this. So I mean,
we see it in a group.
Yeah, and it comes down to probably like purists versus that like non-purists, I guess, mentality. I'd probably say that it probably all stems from. But for myself, I firmly stand by Final Fantasy VII Remake as being a very rock solid game. At the end of the day, I was so enthralled with the game that I was like, yes, I could sit down and relax. And when a game is able to take my mind off of everything else because I'm so focused on it, that's when a game becomes really rock solid to myself. So that's why I'm really firmly like, yes, pro Final Fantasy VII Remake. I still love the original. Don't get me wrong. I still even will play the original.
Of course.
Every when I get the feeling to play it again.
They fulfill completely different niches, and I think that's kind of the cool thing about it. Obviously, again, the pure aspect of it's not really a turn-by-turn RPG anymore. It's more like an active battle thing. But that's the thing, you could still go back and enjoy it, especially because they port Final Fantasy VII even to the Switch, which I think is, in retrospect, the crazy thing.
Mm-hmm. And so they unfortunately my theory was unfortunately put to rest, which was So a lot of people when remake and this is quick spoilers here if you haven't really played remake, and this isn't too much of a spoiler, but the whole game in remake only goes through the Midgar segments, nothing else.
It's a big thing. So
yeah.
but like disc 1.
Yeah, well, it's not even disc 1 because like when you think about like
and then a little more, but,
like
or a little less.
In base Final Fantasy VII, the original game, I'd say the Midgar segment takes anywhere from probably 4 to 6 hours of the game, and you still have probably about like 10 to about 10 hours, give or take, on the first disc. Maybe a little bit less than that. It depends on it all depends on the perspective of like, are you brand new to the game versus like, are you experienced in the game?
Yeah.
But see, what I was thinking is that like if you kind of base like those different little chunks and just kind of like put it all together, I was like, all right, Square Enix, go for it. 7 discs of Final Fantasy VII. It would have been perfect, but no. Now I'm grumpy and they're making only 2 more games, which is probably perfectly fine for me because we probably don't need
this guy wants to have disc 3 problems halfway through the game.
I was really looking forward to paying $400. Well, it'd probably be $450 with tax for all 7 discs at launch. I mean, come on, Square Enix. What are you doing? We're the perfect money fit for everybody.
It seems
there.
like each of these podcasts now have a theme of what are you doing, Square Enix?
But yeah, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I watched the quick little thing about it. I read some stuff into it. And
Sephiroth looking clean.
I look forward to it. I got nothing to really say much about it other than like, yes, it's out. Yeah, cool, it's there. And like if I sit there and like harp on the trailer as much as I possibly could, like then I'm just gonna demotivate myself to really play it. And at the end of the day, the first one was good. So like, all things considered, Square's track record with Final Fantasy VII Remake, based on my opinion, are that I'm looking forward to Rebirth.
You know, it's funny though. Maximilian Dude, a YouTube, fighting game guy, he's really into Final Fantasy VII, and he guessed 2 years ago that the next Final Fantasy remake games are going to be called Rebirth and Reunion. I really. Sorry.
That's pretty good.
I really wish I had that foresight. The only thing I had was I said Minecraft block in Smash. We gotta put more guesses out in the future, more predictions.
But I guess in a brilliant sense, because when you think about like how you like kind of name the games or short name the games, you can write it out as FF7R1, FF7R2, FF7R3. So like, are they the best names? I wasn't a fan of it just being called Remake. I think they could have done a better job with the title, but
Revengeance.
I'm
Rising. I'm saying Metal Gear stuff. Retroy.
It's a Retroy.
Anything else on Final Fantasy?
No, I think that's all I got. It's coming out. I'm excited. That's all I gotta say about that.
For my end, Neon White was probably the one I was like pretty interested in. It was announced for like Switch a while back, I think, and it's like this hyper action first person shooter thing. And you know what you'll like about this, Carl? I wrote this down because it's not really. I don't think there's much to discuss in terms of like how it is, but what's cool, and this is for you. The aiming reticle, you know, the little center thing. It's a hexagon.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's it. That sold. And then moving over from that, because I mean the game's out, so there's not a lot of speculation to really offer. But it seems like it's scoring well, so I'm interested.
Wait. So I am watching video of this, and so what? You use cards to attack?
Yeah.
Is this how this is working? Okay.
Yeah, and you go.
So
and everyone's like a neon color thing.
Let's get ready, folks. I'm about to make Speed's day. So basically, it's Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories.
That's supposed to be the Discord disconnect noise. And you know, I'm okay with Chain of Memories though. In reality,
it's
like geez, Scoob, I kind of like Chain of Memories too.
I thought Chain of Memories was alright. It's definitely not my favorite game in the world.
No, I don't. Sorry to call that one the favorite one.
But yeah.
I think it was, for me, it was fun because it was like, ooh, handheld. I could bring it to a party that I don't want to talk to anyone at. Besides that, Dragon's Dogma 2. Dragon's Dogma is one of my favorite games. I didn't put it on my top 10, but it's somewhere like in like top 30, top 20.
Yeah.
So really, what I said in that little quick thing is all we have. The director Itsuno wore it on a shirt. He's on Thursday. Dragon's Dogma 2. That's it. So it's like, okay, we don't really know anything, but cool.
All right.
All right.
Well, I guess that's the end of the news, and that's going to be the end of the podcast. So thank you everybody for joining. No. So I want to kind of apologize for last week because we were to get to this topic, which we are now going on to this topic now. This is the big one that Speed's been really interested in talking about, and I don't blame him. Today we are going to be talking about farming sims, specifically Farming Simulator 2022. The best game ever.
That one. So I think this topic always needs a preface in terms of like, maybe some people don't know what a farming sim is. And it was hard for me to... I remember you had a topic on this on the Discord. I was like, how do you define one rather than, like, when it's not a farming sim? Because I think there's kind of a weird, like, dichotomy with it. Because I would say that Farming Simulator itself doesn't quite quantify to what people think of when it comes to farming sims. So
it's admittedly not like I would really say like when you want to like look at like I know I made the joke about Farming Simulator 2022 or whichever year Farming Simulator is out, but like by definition that is the best example of what a quote unquote farming sim is. So I think to really kind of like what Speed's going into is he's looking at an RPG farming simulator of sorts.
Yes.
Would probably be the better way of what we're actually looking to talk about. And the best examples are. Go ahead, Speed.
Well, first I want to offer the components here. Like, so I think I would say there's at least 3 major components that go into a farming sim. So the number one, you might know this from Ooblets, for those who are listening to our past one. You farm.
Ooblets? Wait, hold on. What the heck is Ooblets?
What? Wait, did you forget already?
Yeah, I did.
Oh my gosh. You know, you rediscovered that real quick. I'll keep going. You farm, or rather you invest resources to get resources back, such as, you know, you make fodder, and then you feed your animals, and then the animals produce and stuff. And the other 2 things that I think are very important, though, are maintaining relationships with other characters, and you manage your schedule within, like, a day-to-day arbitrary time. Well, not linked to real life, but rather, like, okay, in this game, a day takes 24 minutes or something like that. So you have to manage how do you get your resources and how do you establish relationships with your characters. So I'd say good examples of what a farming sim is this is the one I've been playing recently, Pioneers of Town, and the one Carl played recently. I also had the disc somewhere. Stardew Valley. Mm-hmm. Those are the pretty major ones. I think you kicked your webcam.
I did. In a really awkward place. Oh my god, I am breaking everything here right now. Hold on.
Okay,
it's funny because like
I'd say those are like the two probably the most prominent ones that people could think of, and Rune Factory, and there's other ones like My Time at Porsche. You gotta, I could go on, but
I kicked.
so we're talking about this because Carl a while ago did beat Stardew Valley.
I did
for the most part, I would say. So what would you say like were your thoughts about like experiencing a farming sim for the first time?
I don't want to like go off of that real quick because I will answer that question. But when I searched up ooblets, I kid you not, my entire thing died for a brief moment. Like it's perfectly fine. That's what I was doing this whole time while you were sitting there. I'm like trying to fix my screen and everything, but for whatever reason, looking up ooblets broke everything here. So and then I kicked the camera. It was great. So the question was, what farming simulator? What was the experience of just as far as like Stardew Valley?
Yeah, because I have quite a history with farming sims. I'll get into that, but like this is Carl's like first one really, so that's why we're even talking about it.
Yeah. So admittedly speaking, like it's not my true first one. Like in a sense of like I've definitely tried a farming simulator before, but I was never able to get into it because I own Magical Melody. Sorry, Speed and A Wonderful Life on the GameCube. And I tried Magical Melody for probably a good, I'd say, honestly speaking, about a half hour to an hour, somewhere in there. And I was like, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to enjoy this. And I did not pick up in it at any point. And part of it, I think, was it was late at night. And I was like, let's play a video game late at night, which always goes terrible, especially if I don't know what I'm getting into. Because I like almost was falling asleep by the time I stopped playing and just never played again. But with Stardew Valley, this stems more so from just like how I choose video games, like even for stream as well as just like anything else in that regard. Stardew Valley was a game that everybody wanted to play with me, but I just couldn't find time to play it. And I had not had interest in playing it, even though I own the big giant box set, which I kind of regret not grabbing. It's literally over there, but I didn't have to move this giant piece of wood with my keyboard and my mouse on it, so it's kind of a process and stuff.
Atlas.
But yeah, so I bought the big box of special edition and stuff off of Fangamer, which had some really cool stuff. We actually, like in the beginning of the Stardew VOD, we did an unboxing of that. So, but I just one day it just kind of hit me. I'm like, I want to play Stardew Valley. I want to give it a go. I want to give it a go on stream. We're just gonna see what happens. If it ends up being bad, you know what? I'll shut it down and I won't play it again. That's fine too. And then how many streams did I do? 14, 15, maybe even
a fair
20s?
amount for
no,
sure.
we 24. I remember because I was considering
24.
I was trying to
What's
make
funnier than 24?
well, not 25 because I didn't make it there. Yeah, so and those were all generally 3-hour streams each. So I think I closed in at about 75 hours of Stardew Valley. Now keep in mind, I could still keep playing that game, and I've talked about possibly coming back at some point to do like a whole nother year of Stardew Valley. Because like even where I ended off, which I thought was a really good place to just like end a series of a stream.
Yeah, that's what I was recommending. It's like you get the sorry, this is actually kind of spoilers, but you get like evaluated by your dead grandpa, basically. It's like, how did you do in the farm, huh? Mm-hmm. Oh, you did good. Okay, bye.
But like going into just like my thoughts of like how did I feel and how did I experience and what was like kind of going through my mind was the funny thing, and I know, let me finish what I'm about to say because I feel I gotta say it all the way through. The bottom line was that like I wanted more. I wanted more different things. I wanted more dialogues. I wanted like more interactions. I wanted just more, even like RPG elements to kind of be thrown in there. I wanted more options. I wanted more of this. I wanted more of that. More areas to go through. And that's when it kind of like dawned on me. That's what everybody wants in a farming simulator. They want more, which means that like I was really enjoying the game. Like think about it for a second, because like if you play a game and you hate it, like you don't want more. You just want a different game. But if you're like really enjoying the game, you're like, oh man, I really wish we could have done more of this and more of that. Like that's what's called like creativity, and like also what kind of like gets
passion.
put into passion and gets put into like thoughts to like the game designers, like because like the creators of Stardew Valley, I'm pretty sure have already, if not are currently in the process of making a sequel
The
sequel,
Haunted Chocolatier.
quote unquote. Yeah, which very odd name, but I mean maybe it'll
I
have
don't even know
more.
what a chocolatier is, but sure.
Um, so, and I think that's like, even though that's kind of like not the best way to kind of think about it, maybe perhaps it was like a really good understanding of like, God, I really like this game because I was sitting there like enjoying all the stuff to the point where I was like, it can be even just done more, based off of already the great and excellent that is already provided to me. The game was fantastic. Like, it was so much fun to go through that entire game. Every single aspect of that game, I ended up enjoying. And I think a big thing too that like propelled me was that like I tried to be as open as possible towards every little thing. And like the goals that I ended up doing at the end were like I got all of my skills up to 10, which is max level, which I completed, which I was really good or proud of myself for doing. Which means that like I looked at I'd say not every single aspect, but a lot of different aspects of the game, enough to really get a full experience, I think, out of that game. Because like there's mining skills, there's fishing skills, there's farming skills, there's foraging skills, which is like cutting trees and picking up stuff off the ground, which means that you have to venture around to places. I made it a point to try to get to every single place possible, which I did. I think with maybe like one strange exception, question mark.
I want to clarify for the folks, as much as I am the farming sim, I don't want to say guy, but I think that in the group it's like, oh, as if it's a farming sim, Speed's there. I didn't play Stardew much. I didn't, so I can't even answer. Carl is like, hey, yeah, you missed the genie zone.
Mm-hmm.
You missed the casino zone.
Yeah. And I think, but yeah, and going into that really quick, because like Stardew Valley also has a multiplayer aspect, which I rudely did not do, which I'm wondering possibly if that might be an okay thing down the road, because like the bottom line is that my understanding of the multiplayer aspect is that one person basically gets the awesome house and everybody else gets crappy little huts. And like you basically all work towards the master player's farm. So I mean like you can kind of like look at that as like it's everybody's farm still, but like it's kind of the same thing with Animal Crossing. Like when you play with a player on your game, like one person controls like everything and the second player unfortunately just like has to follow along with everything.
I think the second player can go do anything they want to do as well, though. In
they
terms
can.
Of like, so you separate, and then you could also have different relationships going on. So
you can also with that too. But yeah, I think like definitely multiplayer Stardew Valley. Maybe I could be wrong. I don't know. That's just. I mean, this is how I experienced the game. So and at the end of the day, like I enjoyed how I experienced the game outright. So I think like that's what worked for me. So like now, because at some point I am going to play Stardew Valley again, and whether or not I choose to continue my file, which I probably will, at some point. But maybe I will also look into like starting a brand new farm, like say with Speed.
Or Troy, you've had a lot of of potential bachelors.
Yeah.
As they say.
Who?
The committee.
No, who's Troy?
Oh, sorry, Boogie Mush.
Oh, you mean Retroy? Okay, got it.
What a jerk.
But yeah, definitely that could be something that could happen.
I think it's one of the first, like, so okay, I want to iterate, I don't know everything about farming sims, but like I think that's one of the first ones where it's like, yeah, you can play multiplayer. So I thought that, like, to me that was astounding, because all this time I've been playing solo stuff, and to have someone in tandem, like, that would be great. But I haven't tried it out myself either, so
yeah. Yeah, so I highly recommend, to answer the question that everybody's been wondering about, by the way. So on my backlog, there's obviously the list of every single game that I own, which if you haven't figured that out yet, backlogger.com/Carwin01, you'll be able to look at every single thing I own. But there's also a rating system on there to rate your game. So it's 1 through 5. It's a little inferior to the hexagonal 1 through 6. Or 36 out of 36 kind of scale, but it gets the job done. So I have on there, I decided to do that my 5 stars are my top 100 now. and everything out of that is anything at 4 is still like very much still playable. It's still a very well and solid game. And then 3, 2, and 1 are subjective to whatever you want to play them. But everybody was wondering whether or not I put Stardew Valley and I knocked a game off of the top 100 to fit Stardew Valley in. And the answer to that is yes, I did.
Ooh, what got the boot?
That's a great question. Unfortunately, I don't remember. Let me see if I can look to, because I don't know if my memory card on there shows that or not, which it's looking like it's not. So, hold please.
Okay, well, I'll talk about so I'd add on to specifically what Carl was probably liking, or I think what generally is appealing, because for those who don't play farming sims, it's like what's the fun of going and getting a watering plants, And I think it's just the feeling of natural progress. Getting virtual reward is something very fun about Animal Crossing for a lot of people. And seeing your town or whatever grow, your house and stuff. So I think that's one of the main fun things about a farming sim. You're getting natural progression towards the various goals you set yourself. In tandem with, I think this is the important part again, the characters, you care about them and you want to befriend them in one way or another. So you give them, for example, Carl gave Leia a salad every day.
It's true, every single day. That
Which
woman,
could be mean, know.
That woman got all the salads. No, there was no. If anybody was to get a salad over anybody else, it would be I would have to give her 20 salads at that point just to upset that balance.
But it's it's hey, I'm not trying to say anything or nothing, but here's a salad. Think about it. What's funny, in this one, Pioneers of All Town, the one I went for, Laura, who starts with another L, likes vegetable juice. But yeah, and then the fun is the more you give them stuff, the more cutscenes happen, and the more you get to learn their character. So yeah, it's not just about how do they look, but it's also about how did the creators make their character, send their character out. And I think that's also just the appeal of say visual novels in general and stuff like that. I think that's a very heavy aspect that was brought to farming sims to make them what they are, I think.
Yeah.
You find out the game?
Yeah, it's down to one of two games if I recall. It was either Animal Crossing New Leaf, which I don't think is correct. I don't think I actually put that as a top 5 or a 5-star. Or what I think is actually more correct as far as what I put down, which was Pokemon Stadium 2. I think I dumped Pokemon Stadium 2. As much as I like the minigames of Pokemon Stadium 2, the battling never really appealed to me. I always liked battling in Pokemon Stadium 1, which is very incorrect opinion on many different regards.
Maybe it's which one did you get first or play first? Was it Stadium 1? You think?
I did play Stadium 1, yeah.
So sometimes that plays a part, but at the same time, it could. There's a very valid,
Yeah, and I think at some point too, it comes down to how many different of the same game. I look at Mario Party, which is on here too, a whole bunch of times. Mario Party 1 through 4 all have 5 stars, which I think is the most correct thing possible for me. But at the same time, I might at some point dump one of those just because other Mario parties can kind of or Mario Party isn't, they're partly filler, but they do also hold. Mario Party 1 through 4 all have a very significant part of my life. Mario Party 1, 2, and 3 actually probably inspired me a lot to collect video games. Because I remember when I got Mario Party 2, I remember my dad was searching all over for Christmas one year, and he was like, "Yeah, I found it. Here you go, son." And I was like, "Thanks, Dad." Also recording.
Happy Father's Day.
Yeah, we're recording on Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, including my own father. And before you ask the question, because I know you're going to ask this, did I tell my father Happy Father's Day? And the answer is no, because he is literally 3 states away right now. So. So I cannot at the moment. I'll have to call him later to do it. So, but
everyone in comments say Happy Father's Day, Twitch Daddy Carl.
No, boo, ew. No.
So okay, let's get back to the farming sim. So you're saying you wanted more. What particularly would you specify that you would want more? Because I say, what should farming sims do in the future? I think one of them is a good farming sim should make it so then you feel like you never have the time to do everything in a given day. I think that's a key factor, I feel.
And I felt that Stardew Valley like kind of did a pretty good job of that anyways, because I did feel like there were some days where it's like I really just want to focus on this. And I also the thing that Stardew Valley kind of hinted at doing a little bit but wasn't specifically particular about was like retracting. So in Stardew Valley, for those of you who never played it, you get everybody's relationship status is represented by hearts. And you need certain hearts to like unlock cutscenes and stuff, which I thought was cool. Some cutscenes were interesting, some cutscenes were strange to say the very least, and also
Show
like,
Emily here.
Yeah, that was my first cutscene I think with any person. So I was so of all the cutscenes that I could have gotten first, that was very much so a strange experience to say the very least about. But I what was I gonna say?
Retract.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I've completely forgotten what I was about to say. I do this every now and then. So we're talking about relationships. I had a thought, and I was gonna. Gosh,
because I was talking about how there's not a lot of time. I think a farming sim should
Thank
make it
you.
so then you can't accomplish everything.
Yes,
so.
thank you. That came back. So yeah, so Stardew Valley doesn't do a particularly good job of alerting you that you can retract relationship status points based off of a time factor. Like it's cool to get everybody's hearts up to like the maximum and stuff, and that's fine. But I would be kind of interested to see, because like Animal Crossing kind of hints also at doing this, and it kind of, as weird as it is, Animal Crossing can kind of do a little bit better job at this sometimes. Because like if you don't talk to somebody for like a whole year and then you go and talk to them and they still have 8 hearts, they act like nothing's changed. Like it's just like, oh hey, yeah, did you go to the fair, by the way? I'm going to take second place this year. I know I'm going to do it. And it's like, okay.
I'm going to take second place this year because you're the farmer that does everything in the town.
Yeah. I think that could have been definitely something that could have added to the factor of trying to make it so that like you can't literally do everything in a given day.
I think I see what you're saying in terms of this happens in The Sims. If you don't talk to a sim for a while, their relationship starts to decay a bit.
Yeah.
Actually. So, I think that's a neat idea. I think that what Stardew was kind of lacking, and what I think Pioneers is also kind of lacking. So I'm specifically citing Pioneers because it's the most recent one I'm playing. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like there's a lot of overlap with the characters in terms of like other things. Like, for example, Stardew doesn't have rival events or like relationships, does it? I don't think so.
So reading into Stardew, the only rival thing that can really happen is if you date everybody at once.
Woo!
Yeah.
That's the comment. That was in the first SNES game you could do that, and that's an ending where you walk around town and everyone swoons.
Oh no! See, this is different. This is different in that you can actually have 2 different. You don't get an ending, but you can have 2 alternative outcomes. One being that like everybody's okay with it, and 2 being like they're not okay with that.
It's
and
like
then,
Persona as well.
And then what becomes even greater is that like you have to spend like a month like retracting everybody back because like everybody's heart status goes from 10 to 5. Which is like a nasty blow in relationship.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be pretty like horrendous.
But yeah, that happens also. One of the main things that has rival events and stuff is like A Wonderful Life, where if you don't marry someone, well, they kind of vie for other characters, but it doesn't really happen. Well, actually, sorry, I should be citing other things like actually Magical Melody, I think, has rival events, but rather more so, that can also happen in A Wonderful Life, where you're what do you call it? You're goading 2 different bachelorettes, and then the other one realizes you're not going for them. So then they're like, "Thanks for breaking my heart," and then they like leave. Mm-hmm. And then, you can also get divorced in this game.
You can get divorced in Stardew Valley too.
Yeah, through weird wizard magic as well.
Yeah, it's it's kind of weird, and that's another thing too, where I mean, you have a lot of choice at the end of the day as far as what you can do in a given day. But as far I felt the biggest thing that Stardew Valley does lack, and again, maybe this is what a lot of people might disagree with, is that dialogue I felt was very sparse. Even when you talk to your like significant other or your wife, as I would put it, since that's what I ended up having in the game, I felt like there was just a lot of times where just like they didn't have anything else to say, and I felt like there was a lot of repeated dialogue. Like it kind of, and understand this. I'm saying this, not to put the game as a bad game at all. I really enjoyed the game. I rated it 5 stars out of 5 stars, putting it in my top 100. But as far as just what I'm saying is that like the dialogue in that game, I kid you not, I felt like Animal Crossing 1 on GameCube was a little bit more text-driven and dialogue-driven.
Carl,
Compared
I
to
want
Stardew
to
Valley.
inform you, since you can't see my webcam, I'm smirking because this is a common thing
Oh yeah, and I kind of figured it
in
was.
all farming sims.
I kind of figured
Magical
it was.
Melody. I have props. One of the characters, Eve, at 8 hearts. So each character will say a line at a heart level. They don't change this. So at like 8 hearts, I think, for Eve, she will just keep telling you, it's a little sad that my parents died. It's like every day, I was like, okay, I'm glad I accomplished this at 8 hearts, where you just keep informing me of your deceased parents. But it's like, yeah, I think that's the challenge for sure. I think you need to have these characters that you need to push for. I think diverse characters. At the same time, I get it's hard to write like so many unique instances of dialogue.
It is. It's not even so much that it's hard to do necessarily. Is that it is just time that takes its toll with a lot of that stuff. It takes time because number one, you have to like think of what a person could say, and then like number two, like you gotta make sure that all the text like is like properly put in, and you got to make sure that it's all checked and correct and not coming up at like weird different times. So I mean, like it's definitely a process, and I get that like like there's a lot of, and this is where it comes down to it becomes very difficult as a genre of its own type, because like Speed said at the very beginning when we defined what Stardew Valley is, it is an RPG farming simulator. Like, and it's a mashup, and even in RPGs, it's very difficult to provide interesting dialogue for every single little character you put in there. Even boring NPCs that have like 1 or 2 lines, like, it's just it's something. It's something that I am. This is where AI I think is going to really take over and really kind of drive something very interesting into the gaming world, because when we get to the point where AI is going to be able to literally base its dialogue options to create its own dialogue on the spot, will really make a game, I think, even more magical in that regard. Because like
Magical Melody.
Yeah, maybe not that magical, but
yeah, I think that like sure, I think AI can help. Obviously, it won't replace. But I still think that one of the main things that I think farming sims are still kind of lacking, except for I would say Rune Factory actually has a unique dialogue each day. It actually does, and there's a fair amount of characters in them generally.
Yeah.
But I would say that to paint a world where like a character will like and dislike a person, I feel like that isn't often a thing. You can, I think all of this is to tie into. We really want more of a notable narrative and a world that has an intimate, realistic kind of feel to it, so then you could relate more to these characters. And I think the more you try to push for these diverse characters, the more that people will find more. You have more chances to get people to attach to more of your characters. So
yeah,
I think dialogue is definitely a valid thing to critique. I'm also hitting that in Pioneers. So
yeah, it really is, because like, and especially when you put so many hours into a game, like it just becomes unfortunate, like where it's just like, oh, nothing else to to really hear from them. And like the saddest part about it is that like I feel like you unfortunately, especially like when you marry somebody in that game, because like by the end of like the game, like I was getting kind of just like bored of that character, just in the sense of like because they were just literally repeating themselves over and over and over again. Like
What's a new thing is actually the addition of hearts. I don't remember if Stardew is actually the first one to do that, though. So in the previous ones, you can't go past like 10 hearts. But this one, and in Pioneers as well, they give you 15 hearts. So there are more cutscenes. I don't think you got to them. I don't remember if you maxed out Leia's. You did? Okay.
I did max her out, and I did get all her cutscenes. I'm almost positive on that.
Okay, well, there, she could also hear in other people's cutscenes, but still, I think that's valid.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I guess you're probably right, and everybody just agrees that dialogue is probably the hardest thing, for an RPG, really, not even so much a farming simulator. So,
I gotta give a shout out. I know you kind of wrapped up your session of it, but Hades has so much dialogue. I kind of think Supergiant should make a farming sim. I'd love to see that.
They, and it's unfortunate how, because like you are correct in the sense that I probably really do need to beat it 9 more times to get the full experience of the game.
Yeah. So my contention is less so like you're done with you feel like you've done what you wanted to do. I just feel like you can't call that. You put the B on the backlog, and I was like, I'm offended. That's not true. But like, that's not credits.
It's just I don't know.
Because there's a true ending after the credits too. Guess what? You have to beat the game 5 more times after that.
Oh God.
Yeah. So.
But I don't know, because like maybe that's just where like I finally understand the difference between like a roguelike versus a roguelite.
Light.
That unfortunately, like, when I look at Splunky, like that's when I beat Olmec in that game, I felt so accomplished. And then like the same thing was like I beat Hades in Hades. And
spoilers.
And I felt so accomplished about that. But like then it's just kind of like, well, do it 9 more times. It's like doing the Pit of 100 Trials in Super Mario or Super Paper Mario, and it's like, do it again, and then it's like. Then they tell you, do it again.
I think my thing is like, I think what's more important than that is the storytelling and learning more about all this stuff. Of course, I think it's just a vehicle to tell the story. And in reality, I guess an hour each run is definitely long, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, if you just do that, then that's like, what, 9 hours, really?
Yeah, and that's like, for a lot of games that I've played, like, that's a really solid amount of time to sit there and play that. Like, I sat there and I really struggled through the beginnings of that game. I remember having the first part of the problem in the first area, which I can't remember for the life of me. And like, you got to a new area and it gets more exciting. You get to the next area, you get even more excited. You get to the last area, you finish the last area, you beat the boss. Then you find out there's a second form. Sorry, spoilers. And then you beat that second. By the way, I'd just like to say is bullcrap that I didn't finish it the first time.
That's your fault, man.
It was my fault. I did goof myself. But yeah, and like the thing too is that like. It kind of runs this really, because like they unlocked a lot of stuff. I'm sorry, we're detracting from Farming Simulator.
Well, you know what? Hades is a farming sim minus the time management thing, kind of. If you think about it, you maintain relationships, you get resources.
You really do.
Such a loose definition that, like, I remember, like, so was, Ice Climber was asking, so is My Sims Kingdom a farming sim? I was like, kinda, I guess.
But yeah, so like, and then. I guess just like it just really like story is fun. I like the idea of meeting all the characters and stuff and like getting all and there is a sense of interest of me wanting to find out more of the story for Zagreus by beating the game 9 more times. But like,
I don't think I should have told you the number. I think that was my main downfall.
Maybe so, but again, I could have gotten through it the 3rd time and be like, why am I still playing this?
Well, I think at that point, then you would have been like, oh, okay, then, Persephone's doing this, and then, why I wasn't into thing,
mm-hmm. and Hades does a good job to make sure that each playthrough is, like, unique enough. But again, yeah, like I said,
much dialogue.
Like, I gotta go back to Splunky because, like, that's probably that probably is my main roguelike that I preferably look to, as it's the one I probably beat first. Maybe ToeJam and Earl would probably be taking that, but I'd say the more modern day roguelike is probably Spelunky that I look at. And you know, it took a long time to actually like pull it off to beat Olmec. And like then, you know, the thing with getting a more rock solid completion status for Spelunky was, you know, the entry into literally into, you know, it's the trade-off, you know, like the ending that you see at the end of Spelunky is actually Spelunky guy turns into Zagreus. That's the actual story of it all.
Oh, so Hades. so it's Spelunky, Hades, and then Spelunky 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
there you go. But yeah, so like when I beat those, like everybody was like, "Yeah, you're done. You don't need to do much else in that game anymore because that's an accomplishment." But like Hades, I don't know. Like, I mean, there are other things that you can find throughout the game, but like, it just, I don't know.
I think like the main difference though still is that one is very much more story driven than the other, and I think that I get why you're conflating these two things, but at the same time, I feel like it's once you get more into the flow, like my fastest run through Hades is like 23 minutes.
Yeah, and I don't know, like I can see myself getting competitive towards that, you know, like if it really just ends up being
me in Spelunky.
But at the same time, like it's just not. I don't know. Maybe, and you know, this might stem too from that. Like, I like the game, and it's a really good game, and I'm pretty sure I gave it a 4-star. But like, I'm maybe not as in love with the game as you guys are, and maybe that's just kind of how it is with that. And
it could also be like we picked it as the game of the year that one time. That could be a hype up thing.
Yeah, that's the thing too. And like, you know, it's my opinion to like and hate games too. So, and like I said, I don't hate the game. I thought it was a very enjoyable experience for the 9 hours I played. It's just that like I think at this point now, if I were to play through it again, I feel like I wouldn't get as much as maybe you guys are hoping out of it. So I think that's where I kind of just have to take the L and move on. And I'm fine with that, you know. And like I said as well, you know, this may be a thing down the road where it's like, hey, I feel like playing Hades and getting another run through. Let's go for it, you know. And
that's interesting with both that and Stardew. They kind of have this vibe of like, you know, there's still more. So I think in that regard, I'm very happy that. Like just shifting back because you know I think the Hades discussion is important, but like with Stardew, man, I wonder if I would have a fresh experience going through it just because like I was like this is kind of spoilers. I'll watch the whole thing though.
Yeah, you did watch the whole thing and spoil yourself now. So but I mean like there are definitely like there are other relationships you can kind of tackle. There are different ways you can play the game for sure.
So my question though from that to you though is like. If you were to instead, have you thought of like what? Because I was asked by Lime Green a while ago. What farming sim would I recommend to Carl now? Because he's dipped his toes into the jacuzzi. Mm-hmm. And like, what games do you have of farming sims that like, you know, maybe this could be the next one? And I could tell you like what could be, what factors might overlap and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well,
well, you're asking. I thought you were going. You asked the question of what sims that you could recommend to me. So
okay, well, I meant more like
I was sitting there expecting you to say like, here's what I recommend to you, Carl.
Oh well, I meant more like what games do you have? And I could tell you like, oh, is that might be good, or there's some difficulties with that one.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess the ones that I really have are the only ones I can think of that I actually have are Harvest Moon. I know I have more. I just can't think of them off the top of my head because you know when you have so many games, like you just can't think about every single one of them, and you just don't really think to yourself, oh yeah, that's a farming simulator. I do have a little bit of an interest of playing Rune Factory though. I think was it 4 or 5 dropped recently.
5 dropped.
Okay, yeah. So like I would maybe consider possibly playing 5 and getting interested into that. I would like to actually sit down and play a decent Harvest Moon and just kind of get the full experience of it. Maybe even Story of Seasons would be a particular interest, even though I haven't been able to make any of your Story of Seasons streams. You have to understand, people, that like I have to make money, and that Thursday is my mega work day, so like I can't like make it out, unfortunately, to his streams on Thursdays. So
I would say though, since you listed a wide plethora of games, obviously there's other ones like I kind of mentioned Mind Time at Porsche. Mind Time at Sandrock is the sequel and stuff like that. I haven't played those ones, but I will say Pioneers is pretty close as you may have parsed. It's very close to Stardew in a lot of senses. It has sprinkler systems. It has all that, but. I feel like I would actually recommend, maybe I would say, a Rune Factory game. It has combat, it has a lot of characters, and stuff like that. It kind of is also very anime, just keep that in mind.
Oh, that's
I remember when I first streamed Rune Factory Tides of Destiny, Evening came in and was like, did I miss an episode? And I'm like, no, this is the first part. But I would also say, I would actually recommend, it's a joke around this group, by the way, that I've never played Magical Melody, even though I definitely have. I would say...
Wait, you have?
If you need to... Well, I have. If I were to say, if you were to dip your toes into an older farming sim, maybe Magical Melody would be kind of nice to see, like, okay, the game is completely different. There's no sprinklers. There's a lot of, like...
Oh, there's no sprinkler? Forget that.
Nah, man, you gotta get that gold goddess can. No sprinkler crap.
It's funny because like I worked really hard to get the
Iridium
sprinkler, and then like I didn't even use it.
You used it like one area, but like this was Story of Seasons Pioneers of Valentine was like my first time playing a game with a sprinkler as well. So I was like, wow, this is amazing. I don't have to farm.
Yeah.
But I think you do have a good skew of games to try out. I would between the ones that you have, maybe Magical Melody. A Wonderful Life is kind of the hard one to recommend because it's a lot about the mood and the environment rather than the some of the aspects of it. Because it does lack a lot of stuff. It doesn't really have festivals. It doesn't. The months are 10 days instead of like 24 and stuff like that. So. Mm-hmm. It's very much so a departure, but I think there's a bit of a little dipping point. So, well, with that, any last thoughts on farming sims? Because I'm so happy that you got into it in reality because, I've been like, hey, what if you play this? And you're like, bet.
Yeah, I'd like to, it's come to the unfortunate news that I'm retiring from farming sims. I will never be playing another farming sim ever again.
Thank you for your service. I get to play all of them.
Yeah, if you want farming sims, go twitch.tv/SpeedSlasher every Thursday, farming Thursdays.
Boom. I didn't tell you I'm wearing the shirt again.
I kind of figured you were. I would expect nothing less. See, meanwhile, I'm just wearing a tuba shirt.
No, when you go around the farm, it goes... I'm sorry, I had a brain blast there, the Jimmy Neutron brain blast.
Very disappointing thing about Stardew Valley, okay? Look, I know the character can play an instrument, but no! I want to be able to sit there and play. You can give me a diatonic scale, which is just C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. But I would have been like best game 10 out of 10 for sure if you would have given me like the ability to play notes on an instrument. Look, here's the bottom line. If you want to talk about real farming sims, by the way, which also this just came to my mind too, because it is now. It really is now, and I 100% firmly believe that it does, as stupidly as it is, fit into this category. Rust, funny enough, is a farming simulator because not only can you like put plants in the ground and grow them and requires like watering cans and stuff like that, you can actually have like mutations and like different like strains of like different plants which provide more or less like functionality to your plants. Yes, it really has gotten to that point in Rust. So but more to the point...
That happens in A Wonderful Life, actually.
But more to the point, in Rust, you have full MIDI support for a keyboard in that game to play all 88 notes on a piano. And on top of that, you can hook up an electric drum set to play that in that game, too. So, that being said, and I know Face Punched, is made by Gary Mod, as Chris would put it. If that game can do it, then what the heck, Stardew Valley? Come on. Get your butts out of into your chairs and make that a functionality, and then we'll talk again.
Said something bad. Get your heads out of your butts. But that just makes me think though that it's like when they don't have MIDI instrumentation and they don't allow you to have 500 characters in your name. Sims. Waluigi Sup Farm.
No, it's Waluigi S Sup Farm.
Yeah, I said. Oh, sorry. But I think we are a little messy with that. But I think we talked a fair amount of farming sims. There's definitely a history with them. With regards to like how Harvest Moon split from Story of Seasons through Marvelous and Not Split and all these indie games. I'm glad that there's a lot of indie games for farming sims coming out though, because there was a dry spell for a while. But do you have a question to the audience too?
Well, I have a question more so for you, Speed, before I give a question to the audience.
Okay. I'm Kevin.
What's the most recent Harvest Moon like?
I haven't played it, but I have not heard good things about it, which is the unfortunate thing. I'd like to see a point where Natsume can stick it into gear and like kind of capture what the old ones were getting, but also have take new elements and do it. But for now, I wouldn't recommend Harvest Moon unless like you really are curious. Okay. At least newer Harvest Moons. So.
All right, that's fair enough.
Because it's funny. I was back then. I wanted to have a podcast with Johnny, and I told him I think a segment we should have is each time we say, "Is there a new good Harvest Moon game?" and then we just say no, and then that segment ends. But obviously, not to diminish if you do end up actually liking the new Harvest Moon games. That's more power to you. And I haven't played it. I don't have that experience. But I've also heard they haven't caught up, and I think that's what they had to do.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Marvelous, I think they're doing pretty good. Marvelous Entertainment is the original, creators of Harvest Moon after all. So before the publishing split.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what's your question to the audience now?
Well, I'm going to take the cop-out easy question to the audience. What's your favorite farming sim, everybody? Sim?
What'd you call me? Invader Sim?
No, I didn't say sin, like sitting like, bad.
Sin?
Yeah, farming sin. What's your favorite farming sin?
I beat Abel with a rock. My question was kind of close. Mine is, what was your first farming sim? Because, Carl's here was obviously Stardew. I would say mine is A Wonderful Life, actually. Not even Manchu Melody. Or maybe it was... No.
Also, Animal Crossing New Horizon, even though it's not particularly like...
A farming sim.
Yeah, but I mean, there's farming sim aspects. Gosh darn it! Sim. S-I-M. Sim. Not sin. Sim.
My sins. So, if you guys have any extra topics you'd like us to discuss or input on what we just talked about, let us know at please don't email this podcast at gmail.com. I might have messed that up just there. Or put in the comments below. We'll also have our comments there so you could reply to them.
Yes.
We actually have a comment. We have some comments. There was like, TFP was like, yeah, Stray.
It's
Stray. I like Stray.
It's a game about cats.
Yeah, so we nailed it.
All right. Next comment.
So if you'd like to give us more comments, we do have an email though from Ice Climber Kirby. Oh shoot, I don't have it up, but I have the gist of it. So it was basically like, if there was a new Ice Climber game, because she's been really into seeing where that would go. How would you envision it? Like, how would you perceive it? What would it be?
Okay, so I mean, let's kind of like just go really quick onto what Ice Climber originally is as far as a game. Ice Climber is, it's not story driven. Is it more is kind of it's an arcade game. You start at the bottom, you get to the top. And at the top, you get a little bonus stage, and you collect all the bonuses, and you get extra points and stuff. There are a certain amount of levels, but by definition, the game doesn't really just like end. So really, what you're kind of playing for is points in that game. So what you have to do is you have to take the understanding of like you have your basis of what your arcade game was, and now probably put some sort of like a story or something. So really, you're probably looking at some sort of a side scroller game. You're probably looking at cutscenes in between levels and stuff, or like you see Nana and Popo really helping each other out. You could also do it RPG style too. That could be interesting and really kind of like opening up a whole slew of different characters and stuff that you can talk to. Maybe like, going from point A to point B could be options too. But the hardest thing is trying to. I think going back to it, I think this is where it'd probably work out better as a side scroller, because I think I can't say that I can really name too many climbing side scrollers off the top of my head that utilize a challenge within the climbing system. Like, yeah, you can climb a ladder or you can climb a wall and stuff, and like you can look at like a game like Breath of the Wild where you have a stamina bar. Climbing is a gamble in that regard. But I think if you can kind of make something where you can focus most of the challenge into accurately climbing, possibly even making it so that like you have bad climbs versus good climbs, which gives you more or less points or money or something of the sort, and then make like things at the top of each peak that you get to as like the goals and stuff. Like maybe you're climbing the peak to be better than everybody else, or maybe you're climbing the peak because there's treasure at the top of the peak, stuff like that. I think could really kind of utilize a really good foundation for making an ice climber game. Your turn.
Yeah, I think that's a good. I think that's a good approach. Like, to me though, that feels like. So I was taking it from the approach of how do you make it a AAA $60 game, and I think that if they have the field work here, Odyssey was a pretty good like roustabout exploration kind of game, and I also think you also commented on Breath of the Wild. Now, I'm not saying like an open world, but I think a game where you have to really handle controlling maybe like say it's a one player only game, you have to control both characters at the same time maybe in some way. I think that would be an interesting approach. But I was thinking like you have all these mountains that they want to climb around in this environment, and then you could build a story around that as well and stuff like that. Like, oh no, look at Kid Icarus Uprising, how that started and then where it is now in terms of a series is very different. So I think that if they really hammer down and try to make this like a I guess a franchise or like a more notable IP, I think that could be the way to do it. But obviously, I think Carl's is more faithful to what it was arcade-wise, though. But I think mine would be more of like a reimagining kind of sense. So I don't think that'd be I don't know what you'd be wanting for Ice Climber, but
yeah, and the thing too is that like also what you kind of said about trying to make it a AAA game, and I think I honestly feel like that could kind of be kind of a bad approach to kind of go about that, really. Because, I mean, you can go about that, and Nintendo definitely has the assets and the willpower to really kind of make something out of that. But, like, and I'm sorry, Woot, who's one of our well-loved and followers and subscribers on YouTube and Twitch and all that kind of stuff. But, like, when I look at the Donkey Kong Country games, and I know this is going to be a hot take, I don't look at those as a AAA amazing title. That being said, I still love the games, and they still will have a very big part in my heart as games that I grew up with. I mean, all three of the Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo, still one of my favorite games of all time. But like, I think I enjoy those games more so having a smaller appreciation than them being a really like it has to be a AAA game. Even like Kirby, like I love Kirby. I love that the pink ball there, but like. And keep in mind that the first super really amazing AAA Kirby game I think finally just dropped. I think that would be like what I'd really define as. And I still haven't played it yet, so I can't really like make that assessment yet. But I mean, like, there's just something about like Nintendo games are part AAA and part humble, and I think Ice Climber would do much better as a retelling, or just like I don't know, I guess it wouldn't be a retelling, but a reimagining, as you would put it, as something not AAA and just something as let's go for it, let's see what happens. Because even Pikmin.
Well, so okay, I think you're hung up. I don't play a lot of AAA games. I meant more like in terms of when you're reimagining it, like what's the scale?
Yeah,
I think that's more what I'm talking about rather than like, oh, this is Naughty Dog making their workers stay past, I'm just talking more in terms of like, I think if they go for an Odyssey-like, or how Kirby even went, as you say, I that's more my thought. Less so, it's a AAA game. Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of want to make that clear.
Yeah, and like I said, I use AAA like broadly. I didn't use it like as like high end EA kind of game, or like Activision kind of game, like on that caliber too. But just more so that like like it could be put on the same level as the new Super Mario Brothers series, where those games they're great. Like I know a lot of people crapped on the Wii U version because like it for kind of rightfully so, because it did kind of come out when like we were burnt the crap out of those games. But like if you go back and play New Super Mario Bros. Wii like today, after it's had some time to just kind of like sit there for a while, like it's a really solid game. I really enjoy it. But I mean, it's not anything that's like spectacular. Like it's not anything that like they had to have 500 employees, all working on that, or like even however many like work on AAA games today, where it's like you have a giant working on stuff. And I just think that like Nintendo could put some of their more humbler, smaller divisions on the game to focus on the game, and work the game really well, and obviously not try to have anything that's a raw product come out. Make sure it's well baked and everything. And I think that like it could really do well as a humble kind of not as big as Mario Zelda franchise. And they could have something that could just be made that I think would be uniquely interesting, because Nintendo has the ability to really do that, as time has literally told through all of the different games that they have released over the years.
I think the main like bottom line here is, what would Nintendo reasonably do with a franchise they haven't touched in a long time? And we've seen that the mentality is, with F-Zero, for example, if we can't think of anything new, we're not doing anything with it. Yeah. So my approach was more so, how do they do something that will make them want to make it? Because Ice Climber, Kirby has been in our group for a good while. And each Nintendo Direct, there hasn't been Ice Climbers. So I'm just thinking, like, what would be the push? We'd like to hear what your thoughts are. Which one would you rather see it be? Would you rather see it be an exploration, climbing a bunch of mountains thing? Would you rather see it be a platformer, a side-scroller kind of thing? So, I think they're both different approaches, and they're both valid in their own rights. Mm-hmm. So let's wrap things up, boss.
It's time to wrap up, because
it's time to wrap up. So what are you doing?
I'm sitting here.
Okay, Troy.
Oh, whatever you say, Johnny.
No, because with that clip where it's like, "Where have you been, Troy?" and then Troy's like, "I've been at home."
Oh yeah, they did say that. No, so this week, I'm excited to finally say, by the way, and hopefully this doesn't interrupt anything, because I'm Wednesdays are going to be stream days again, on top of Monday and Tuesday.
Darn.
So more than likely this week, now that we've fixed the brawl kerfuffles, because oh my goodness, that was a nightmare of a stream. I should be able to focus entirely on the Subspace Emissary in Brawl. Which, funny enough, because when this podcast probably goes up, which will probably be on Wednesday, I don't want to put
Tuesday.
I don't know. I don't want to rush speed or anything, but when it does come up, I'd be amused to wonder if Brawl is already done by that point. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. And of course, like I said, this week on Saturday the 25th. Let me double check my calendar. 25th is community night. Yeah, woo, yeah.
I hope that's therapeutic for you guys at home. And Carl was telling me it was ASMR.
To me, it sounds good, but you guys, like, because it's going to be coming through your microphone there, maybe it's awful. But yeah, so community night is welcome to anybody. We are going to be playing Jackbox. We're going to be attempting something new. Me and Speed are going to be playing Super Mario World, which sounds very not like all that much community, until we realized that we were going to be implementing the plugin crowd control, which is going to allow you guys to control our fates in the playing of Super Mario World. So me and team are speeding up. Me and Speed are teaming up to beat Super Mario World, which normally would be an easy task, but is probably going to be a nightmarish task, to say the very least. Because, oh boy, it's going to be chaos and mayhem for that small hour that we play.
They don't need to do anything for me to die.
Yeah, but they can make it easier because they can just take out the whole the bottom and just make it, So
I just think about that playthrough that we did like when I was first on the channel. Man, that was tough because I was playing on keyboard, folks.
Yeah,
I mean, like I could do that. People can do that, but man, with netcode and stuff too. Gee.
Yeah. And then later on in the community stream will be Mario Kart 8. Will also be some marbles because we can't have a community night without marbles, unfortunately. And then later in the Discord, if you were following in my Discord, a movie night, I will be watching Jurassic Park for the first time in my life.
Oh, sorry, copyright.
I've actually played the song.
Oh.
So it's not spoilers to me. So
no, I meant copyright.
That is true.
Oh, you gotta cut it off.
So and then assuming Brawl gets finished this week, next week I haven't announced anything on that, but for regular
Spelunky
streams,
2.
It'll be the summer spectacular of streaming, which we'll get an explanation down the road. So tune in for that, as that'll be fun and chaotic to say the very least. There, so
I know what you're talking about now. My bad.
So,
I was like, I don't have anything planned. Oh, Spelunky 2, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this week thing. Oh, that thing, the classics.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all the stuff that's happening for me. I believe for you, you're gonna be probably doing more drawing on Monday.
Let me speak. Maybe. I want to try that tablet thing again. When I did it last Monday, it didn't work because the battery contacts were screwy. And then I'll be doing more Chibo. Everyone likes Chibo, I think. And then Stardew Valley. Story of the Seasons. I will make a subtle announcement here sometime in July. You may have seen it on Carl's End. You know, the table.
Is it finally coming? Oh my god, I'm super excited. Oh my goodness.
But I also have, the funny thing about July is I also have jury duty and a physical. So.
Oh, oof.
So, it might be, I'll plan for it like near the end of the month. I'll see. Now that I've said that on the podcast, I have to start working on it now. So that's a good thing, right? Okay, so I think that's your schedules. Where can people find you, Chief?
Oh yeah, so you can find me twitch.tv/Carl101 Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, currently right now at 7 p.m. Central Time. That's when I normally stream. I stream all things variety games, all the fun, all the time, every time. Feel free to come hang out, talk to me. I like when new people come and talk to me. Not to say that I don't enjoy talking to Speed. Speed has the honor of being the most talked to person probably on the stream these days. So so you guys gotta beat him. That's your challenge.
Defeat me if you dare.
Yeah. You can also subscribe to me on YouTube, Twitch, or not Twitch.youtube. YouTube.com/Carl101. Subscribe to me there. I work on music videos. I work on, which is where we're at right now, actually, for most of those people, since this is only a video podcast on YouTube right now. But yeah, I do music videos. I'm currently working on reviews. I'm working on podcast here, and other stuff may just randomly decide to show up too on this channel as well. So, log plays. Those are the thing too now. And then of course you can follow me on Reddit.com. -Carl101 is my technical username on Reddit. It's where I just upload basically all the stuff I do on all the other platforms. Instagram. Carl101 and Twitter also /Carl or at Carl101 for Twitter, which will be all on the screen here, perfectly announced and everything. Instagram, I upload a lot of stuff that you don't normally see. You see a lot of on the outside of streaming life and stuff. So my recent Instagram post was that I was at Menards, which is a hardware store in the Midwest of the United States. There's a big Reese's display, and the whole thing was filled with Kit Kats. So I was really disappointed because I was like, oh man, no Reese's to have then. All right.
I'd be like, yeah, no Reese's because I'm allergic.
Yeah, so And then Twitter, I post all of my announcements and stuff. So you can, if I ever announce, like, I try to be regular with when I go and stream and stuff, so you can kind of like see streams there and stuff. So, yeah. You can
retweet his deckhands thing so we could watch a night of it.
So I lost the challenge to Speed here, who challenged me to actually get to the credits of Hades, which would have required me to get 9 endings or 9 more endings.
That was so funny because it's like there's no way.
so I failed to do that because that makes a lot of sense. But so he got the ability to literally tweet whatever the heck he wants, and I played a game called Mario Party the Top 100, and specifically a mini game in there called Deckhands, which is a god awful, atrocious mess of just pile of garbage. And so I put a side little thing on top of them pointing out that Deckhands is my favorite game in the world. That if this tweet gets was it 1,000 or 100? 100 likes, that I would play Deckhands again or do like a 12-hour stream or something like
something.
That. Yeah. So
don't
like that tweet. That's a terrible tweet. You don't want that. I guarantee you don't want that, because Sweet's gonna have to sit through all of that anyways.
So on my end, I just heard the threat at the end mentally. On my end, you can find me at Twitch at SpeedSlasher. I stream Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and on Friday you can find me at Brights. One of my friend Brightheart2324. I forgot to also say we're gonna start a new thing soon. Next week, maybe, I think. We won't say, but we kind of hinted at it. It won't just be drawing. You could find me. Speaking of drawings, though, you can find me on Twitter at FlameCannon3, the Roman numeral for 3. I like doing this all the time. That's my new thing. You can find me at Tumblr at FlameCannon3. I've actually been posting art because I've been doing a little more. I did like drawing on Jammer Lammy. I did like a mountain. And stuff like that. Yeah. So that's mainly where you can find me. And at the end of the card, you could see my YouTube channel. So,
I think you removed the video that said that watching this channel will do this to your brain or something like that.
No, it's still on there.
Is it? Because I couldn't find it anymore. But maybe I just wasn't.
That's on the SpeedSlasher one. That's like my personal one, not the.
Oh, you're talking about the Afternoon Casuals one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Got it. Maybe I should upload that there too. But thanks for watching, folks. This has been episode. We didn't even say. Did we say what episode it was? It was 33, right?
It's 32.
32. Well, shoot. I was the host, Speed. That was the other host, Carl. And
goodbye.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I shouldn't sing over there.